Through time, Zhu Yougui became the infamous emperor of the Underworld. Sitting on the throne of the Xuanming Sect, his head drooped and he said sorrowfully, "Why is the power of my heavenly realm so weak?" Fortunately, there is a system that can traverse the modern world and cause trouble. There is already a dungeon world in progress called, the Bad People of the Tang Dynasty. The Twin Dragons of the Tang Dynasty is completed, and the 9 Songs of the Heavenly Journey is in progress. As a newcomer embarks on the road, the unscrupulous person who likes it looks at it and sees that it is actually a eunuch. There is no other choice but to write with their own fragile writing style. Keywords of the novel. Invincible pop-up window starting from the Underworld Emperor, Invincible TXT complete collection download starting from the Underworld Emperor, and the latest chapter reading of Invincible starting from the Underworld Emperor. Chapter 1. Rebirth of the Underworld Emperor Zhu Yougui. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1 Rebirth of the Underworld Emperor Zhu Yougui Xuanming Sect. The dark corridor was filled with a howling wind, and in the darkness, there were endless crows chirping, one after another eerie and terrifying. As one of the 3 major forces that everyone in the martial arts world fears, the scene within the sect is different. The golden and magnificent hall was dimly lit, with sparse and dim lights leading to the pitch-black throne. The palace is grand and majestic yet still eerie, with hellish reliefs featuring crimson bloodthirsty and tender braziers. Even the courtyard corridors are adorned with exquisite and lifelike 18 layers of hellish painted walls. At this moment, the mini 5 short stature of the little person is sitting in the highest position, holding his cheeks and staring, looking down in contemplation. There was an indescribable depth and clarity in his eyes, confusion, and depression. What is frustrating is the Zhu figure in front of me, with small hands and feet that are small and cute. But on his face was a terrifying and gloomy ghost makeup, his face was as pale as paper, and he had 2 horns on his head. With his cold and sharp eyes, he squinted a sinister curve, and his whole body was filled with evil aura, which seemed to be the aura of a proper villainous boss. That's right, he has traveled through time. Wearing the Emperor of the Underworld Zhu Yougui from the wrong person. He is also the leader of the Xuanming Sect with the highest martial arts skills, and his strength is in the middle stage of the great heavenly position. I am practicing the Xingyun divine skill of the Xuanming Sect, but I became a dwarf by jumping over the upper volume of the 9 nether Xuantian divine skill and forcibly practicing its lower volume. Zhu Yougui sighed. From the memories carried in his soul, it can be inferred that this is the world of Tang Dynasty villains. And this Ming Emperor died tragically. After all, Zhu Yougui is just a small boss in the early stage, and can also be considered a chess piece in the hands of a bad coach, specifically used as a sharpening stone for the protagonist Li Xingyun's trial. He was provoked to confront the protagonist group Li Xingyun, and coupled with the ambitious and unscrupulous handsome Xuantian gang, he plotted to install spies in the Xuanming Sect, and once he rebelled, everyone was undercover. Zhu Yougui knew that despite being one person under 10,000 people and controlling the entire Xuanming Sect, he was incredibly powerful in both power and force. But this is all superficial. The real situation is that the people around him are spies planted by all sides, and there is hardly any trusted subordinate. The judge of water and fire in the Xuanming Sect is a person of Zhu Yougui. Meng Pe is a member of the unscrupulous and handsome faction, while many members of the Xuanming Sect are basically unscrupulous. From Meng Pe up to the bottom, most of the members of the lower echelons are bad and handsome people. I only seek death in battle. Why did you surrender first? Thinking about it makes people feel scared. How does it make Zhu Yougui play? In the end, it is only natural that Zhu Yougui lost completely. Zhu Yougui, a talented individual in heaven, was naturally unwilling to sit and wait for death, so he bravely challenged the bad handsome with a desperate effort. Finally, that is the most famous statement that everyone knows. How could my magnificent heavenly power be so vulnerable to a single blow? That's right, Zhu Yougui's proud martial arts were easily defeated with just a few moves after 300 years of poor command. Although Li Xingyun did not kill him, Zhu Yougui believed that as the emperor of the Liang dynasty, he should have the dignity and integrity of an emperor, and did not want to live a miserable life, so he committed suicide. For this person who shouted the harshest words and received the most vicious beating, Zhu Yougui, who was reborn, still admired his backbone. After all, not everyone is so confident and dares to challenge bad looks. Not willing to be humiliated and steal life, willing to die with iron bones and integrity. Although death is still glorious. On the throne, Zhu Yougui clenched his fair and tender fist, with an endless sharpness in his eyes, muttering to himself. Since our two souls blend and give birth, then rest assured that I will never repeat the same mistake and promise to let Zhu Yougui live a brilliant and prosperous life again. If Zhu Yougui dares to make such a promise, it is natural that he still holds a card in his hand. The leader has taken medicine. A trembling voice sounded as an elderly woman with white hair and a hunched back slowly walked towards him, leaning on a peachwood dragon head cane in her left hand and a bowl of soup and medicine in her right hand. Mengpe. Zhu Yougui looked up and saw Mengpe, a senior spy, with a kind expression on her face and a soft smile in response. With a bowl of medicine in her hands, she walked up to him in a few short steps and said. The sect leader felt a cold wind yesterday and said that he often had a splitting headache and was talking crazy. His subordinates were heartbroken and searched for a good prescription. This is the soup that the sect leader had just prepared for his old body. He drank it and it was fine. Is that so? Upon hearing this, Zhu Yougui's eyes narrowed and he carefully looked up and down at the old lady. This is a general in the hands of a bad handsome person, a senior undercover girl. Some people may appear to be a poor old lady with white hair, but in reality, they are a graceful and beautiful woman. In order to ambush within the Xuanming Sect, I have endured humiliation and ugliness for over a decade, truly dedicating myself wholeheartedly and diligently. However, after listening, Zhu Yougui stared blankly at the soup in the bowl and the black traditional Chinese medicine. Who knows what was inside? Sometimes the difference between good medicine and poison is only one word. Not to mention that Zhu Yougui is not sick, he wouldn't drink this spy's medicine even if he died. Zhu Yougui raised his eyebrows and eyes, and said with a cold and stern expression. I didn't expect Mengpe to be so considerate. Do you know Wu Dalong and Pan Jinlian? I don't want to wear this persuasion medicine to persuade death buff. Wu Dalong and Pan Jinlian. Mengpe stood in the same place, holding medicine in a daze. Who are these two? Combined with the gaze at the familiar person in front of me, it seemed as if I was going to see through her. It seems that under that sharp and insightful gaze, there is no secret to speak of. Mengpe, as an important chess piece in the hands of a bad handsome person, is naturally a clever person. And the more intelligent people think, the more they brainpower. Has my identity been exposed? Do these two names have any special meaning? The leader is using these two names to test me. With these two fools alone. This is absolutely impossible. After shaking her head in her heart, Mengpe, with her brain filling up, finally tentatively said. I don't know, but these two have angered the sect leader. Why don't you send someone from the old school to catch them and remove their bones and skin? No need, those two seem to belong to the Tang Dynasty. It's okay then. Zhu Yougui smiled and took the bowl of medicine with his hand, then clasped it on the table and said sincerely, Mengpe has a heart. You are truly loyal to our sect. It is truly an honor for me to have Mengpe in the Xuanming Sect. The leader praised it so much, everything is what the old man should do. Mengpe lowered her head even lower, and no one saw a glimmer of brilliance in her eyes. In fact, this seat is not sick, but was comprehended in the realm yesterday, which is why it behaves differently from ordinary people. Let's put this medicine here for now. You go out first, and this seat wants to take this opportunity to suddenly realize seclusion. As for the small and large matters within the sect, as usual, Mengpe can handle them alone. Zhu Yougui patted Meng Po's shoulder and said with great trust, with an attitude of reassurance. Yes, that old man has stepped down. Zhu Yougui watched as Meng Po slowly retreated, his eyes full of malice and malice. His thoughts turned and he began to plan his future path, secretly saying. The bad handsome regards the world as his chess game and all beings as his pieces, while he himself is the mastermind behind it. Ultimately, it is just that his 300 years of martial arts have been too invincible in this world. He only hates his own weak strength for falling into the trap of others. For the unfortunate fate of the bad handsome, Zhu Yougui did not despair, as long as he obtained the first volume of the Xuanming Sect Xingyun Divine Skill Jiuyou Xuanming Divine Skill. You can achieve complete mastery of your own mystical skills, break free from being possessed by demons, and enter a new realm of martial arts. It should be noted that Zhu Yougui was originally a genius of the heavenly zone, co-creating divine skills with his generals. In the end, he even practiced martial arts until he became a master of the great heavenly position after becoming possessed by demons. Talent is not without its strength. With the combination of the two volumes, he is confident in advancing towards the later stage of the great heavenly position. In addition, he also has a system in his hand that takes him through time. Hello, is the system cute there? Zhu Yougui kept thinking in his mind. That's right, the system that brought him over is currently sleeping in his mind due to the loss of too much energy. Ding, there you are. A voice rang out in my mind. Zhu Yougui was immediately overjoyed. Did he even have an expression? It's really high.tech, 666. It feels like this system doesn't seem very smart. Can you briefly introduce your features? Ding, redefining the function of the air transportation transit system. Through the explanation provided by the system, Zhu Yougui also understood that this system is a semi-finished product, and currently only has the functions of collecting air transportation and traversing. The name is also simple, it is called the Xingyun transit system. As long as you accumulate qi, you can travel through time, and qi can be obtained by changing the plot. Simultaneously traversing consumes a lot of energy, and the more it consumes, the more advanced the world it traverses. Simultaneously learning techniques can also accelerate the process of enlightenment by consuming qi. The vast world has infinite possibilities. Zhu Yougui's eyes sparkled with brilliance, his mood was extremely excited, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. This was exactly what Zhu Yougui was looking for. This will be his biggest trump card and confidence in dealing with bad guys like Zhu Yougui. As long as he is given some more time, Zhu Yougui has the confidence to challenge the realm above that great heavenly position, even surpassing it. Even a bad handsome person cannot control his fate by then. I originally wanted to study well in college, but suddenly I was chasing a bad book and became a eunuch, which made me feel unhappy. Thinking that although my writing may be mediocre, I still have a passion for it, why not give it a try? I started writing mindlessly, to be honest. I admire that author very much. Let's consider it a sequel. I hope everyone is satisfied. Anyway, I am just a vegetable chicken. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Ghost King Zhu Youwen. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Ghost King Zhu Youwen. System. Open my template. In order to better determine his own attributes, Zhu Yougui said loudly. Then, a panel appeared in front of Zhu Yougui. Host. Zhu Yougui Cultivation. Mid-stage of the Great Heavenly Position Bloodline. Human Race Cultivation Method. Jiuyou Xuantian Divine Skill, Remnant, Xingyun Value. 1800 The position of the leader of the Xuanming Sect will be increased by 200. With 100 echoes and over 10,000 people, Great Heavenly Position plus 100, Peerless Expert, the Young Prince plus 500, Dynasty Xingyun Protector, Successfully Traversing adds 1,000, the Boy Who Survived the Disaster. After carefully examining his panel, Zhu Yougui touched his chin and immediately realized. So that's how luck is calculated. Next, he asked another question. How am I going to travel again? Once the system is logged in, the highly efficient one provides another option: choose World 1. 7 Dragon Balls Note. The plot only unlocks the first installment, and the effect of the Dragon Ball is only effective on the original world. Traveling through gas transportation costs 2,000 yuan. Choose World 2. Love Apartments Note. This is a world of ultimate martial arts, and once you go, you will definitely be invincible in the world. Traveling through air transportation costs 100. Choose World 3. The twin dragons of the Tang Dynasty. Traveling through gas transportation costs 1,000 yuan. Watching these three worlds choose, Zhu Yougui decisively passed the love apartment. This daily romance has no use for him. Even if he can be invincible in daily society with his great power, what can he do? Understand nuclear bombs. Besides, in this world, besides picking up girls, it's all about picking up girls. After coming back, encountering Xuantian gang still means dying. It's completely unnecessary. If he wants to, he will choose something that can enhance himself. Zhu Yougui's eyeballs moved, and now there are only the lower 7 Dragon Balls and the Tang world to choose from. In the world of twin dragons in the Tang Dynasty, it seems that the level system is not as high as that of villains, but in fact, it is not. The water in the Tang Dynasty is still very deep. If we delve deeper into it, there are the longevity technique, God of War illustrated records, and demon dragons. Whether it is mysterious or level, it is not inferior to villains. And this world can also achieve the goal of making Zhu Yougui stronger, whether it is the 4 wonderful books or the strange energy in the evil king's relics, which can make his strength even higher. Zhu Yougui is very interested in the Tang Dynasty world and really wants to transition to this world. However, he still cares about the last option, which is high risk and high return. But in the end, he sighed. As for the 7 Dragon Ball world, the water is too deep. Although according to the instructions, there is only the plot of the first part, and the combat power system is relatively normal, it did not collapse too much. And there are also many treasures with various black technologies and Dragon Ball. However, Zhu Yougui is still a bit timid. In his opinion, everyone in this passionate manga is sick and always bullies the Earth God crazily. Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball Super basically continue this tradition. Moving or not is the destruction of the Earth, then resurrecting the Earth and whipping the corpse again to fight a villain. One must sacrifice the Earth to the heavens, otherwise the Dragon Ball warriors will not be able to make waves. There's no way, there are too many bull people who can't move the blazing star. Even with Zhu Yougui's great heavenly position skill, there was still no sense of security when he went there. If possible, he doesn't want to go to this place. There is also a bad handsome old dog who wants to harm me. I must make early plans. Zhu Yougui silently decided in his heart that it was best to find a way to restrain bad looks in a different world. For example, if you want to play a master's ball or something, it's best to let a bunch of red lights flash by with a click sound and take in the bad guy. Zhu Yougui thinks that bad looks have lived for over 300 years, and even if they are not elves, they are not considered human, right? But these are not urgent. Let's solve my physical condition first. Zhu Yougui believes that the top priority is to first obtain the first volume of the Jiuyou Xuantian divine arts and solve the problem of his own martial arts becoming demonic. The Jiuyou Xuantian divine skill he cultivates is the Xingyun divine skill, which is divided into 2 volumes. The first volume is Jiuyou and the second volume is Xuantian. To cultivate this divine skill, one must practice it together from top to bottom. If one only cultivates one volume, they will never reach the highest level, and they will even become possessed by demons and become like neither humans nor ghosts. Zhu Yougui became like a dwarf because he skipped the upper scroll and forcibly practiced the lower scroll. Only by completely solving his own problems can he confidently venture into the world and carefully consider which one to go to hide from. As for the scroll, it was written on Zhu Youwen, the good brother of Zhu Yougui and the Ghost King. However, the Ghost King was ambushed by Zhu Yougui during his seclusion and is now imprisoned. His current relationship can be said to be irreconcilable, with deep blood feuds. It will take some effort to release it and reconcile with his brothers. Fortunately, I have watched the anime, and in the original work, Black Wu Chang found the first volume of the divine skill in the dark grid of the practice room. I know the secret room like the back of my hand, so I naturally know where the dark grid is, and I can easily get the upper volume. Zhu Yougui had a joyful expression on his face. He turned around and used his body movements, his figure flashing like a ghost. With just a few steps forward, he had already shrunk and teleported to the entrance of the basement. Yes, the most dangerous place is the safest place. He thought I didn't want to come here in person and thought I would never hide the secret script here, but I just came. After searching around and spending a lot of effort on the practice stage for a while, I finally found a dark grid. In the original drama, Black Wu Chang was here, and I obtained the 9 Yuxian Heavenly Divine Skill Scroll. Sure enough, Zhu Yougui found it. He opened the scroll and looked at the 9 Yuxian Heavenly Divine Skill chapter recorded on it. Upon opening it, he recited, "There is a mysterious sky in the 9 Netherworld, with the upper and lower 9 Netherworld. Do not make an appointment but agree with each other. The clarity of life and death is evident, capturing yin and half of the soul, and having no appearance or status, black and white will never change, and the sea of qi will hang in the spiritual hall." It's really the real version. It really comes without any effort. Suppressing the desire for quick cultivation, Zhu Yougui smiled and took the divine skill secret book into his arms, then planned to meet his younger brother first. This place is far from the main altar, and the place where the Ghost King is sealed and imprisoned is hidden. Only a few people in the entire sect know about it. According to his memory, Zhu Yuxian arrived at the secret room of Guan Guiwang Zhu Youwen, and with a strong palm of his luck, he suddenly opened the mechanism with a loud bang. Zhu Yuxian smiled and quickly dodged inside. As a forbidden area, the Jiaolan Palace, also known as the Imperial Palace, the lights had long been extinguished and had not been cleaned for a long time. The ground was covered in dust. Zhu Yougui came to the practice stage and looked straight at the disheveled figure nailed to death by the iron chain. "My good brother, I came to see you now." The huge iron chains crisscrossed the stone chamber, with a burly figure locked in the center. The fierce man with his peepa bone locked open his beastly eyes and shouted fiercely, "Zhu Yougui! How dare you, you scumbag, come here! Second brother, I came to see you. TSK, I haven't seen you for so long and you're starving and thin." Zhu Yuxian said calmly, without saying anything else. He just carried his hands behind his back and stared at the Ghost King Zhu Youwen. This second brother is a great master, at least his true strength is in the middle stage of the heavenly realm. In the later part of the second season, after absorbing the internal power of many masters of the Xuanming Sect, he has reached the peak of the great heavenly realm and is an excellent and skilled fighter. Zhu Youwen had a plan in his heart to throw Zhu Youwen out to block the disaster, let the bad handsome look for his misfortune, so that he could secretly engage in lewd development. "Pooh, would you have such kindness?" Zhu Youwen spat and his withered face was filled with sarcasm. He didn't believe what this ruthless big brother said at all. "I have decided to love you again, younger brother, do you believe me?" Zhu Yougui opened her innocent big eyes and said cute. Zhu Youwen's angry eyes were wide open, and the iron chains on his body creaked with anger, saying, "Hee, I don't know who gave me this land today." Zhu Yougui pretended to wipe away his non-existent tears and said something serious and nonsense. "So that's how you think about your brother. It's really heartbreaking for him. In fact, there was another hidden story behind the incident, and he had no choice but to do so. I also had some ulterior motives. Life is like a play, it all depends on acting. Okay, now I can only have a showdown. Actually, all I did was to protect you." Hee, Zhu Youwen sneered. "You keep making up, I'll listen." Zhu Yougui first put on a look of grievance, with a sincere gleam in his eyes. He shook his head as if possessed by the actors and said. I know you won't believe it for a while, but it's time for you to know. Back then, our Xuanming Sect was the top force in the martial arts world, with both the Underworld Emperor and the Ghost King being unparalleled. Sitting down, there were 4 major corpse groups to conquer the world. Such a powerful force has finally attracted the fear of villains. Bad handsome Xuantian gang will not sit idly by and let our brothers work together harmoniously, because it is definitely a threat to him, so he will definitely take action against you. And I have long seen through the cunning schemes of the unscrupulous handsome, but Xuantiangang's strength is unmatched by manpower, so the elder brother had no choice but to use a plan to save you and deliberately create a false impression of brotherhood and mutual harm by placing a double in the outside world, which was how he concealed the unscrupulous person. Zhu Yougui's words are both eloquent and well-founded. Anyway, it's the right thing to throw the blame on the bad guy, because Xuantian gang is already not clean, and the more you investigate, the more it can only prove that he has ill intentions towards the Xuanming Sect. In the original work, Zhu Yougui easily believed his disciple who had betrayed him, clearly lacking in intelligence and being more naive and easy to deceive. So whether it can be whitened depends on this wave. Are you serious about this? And besides, the bad handsome Xuantian gang, this guy is actually alive. After listening, Zhu Youwen's eyes widened and he was surprised to find that the unscrupulous handsome Xuantian gang was still alive. But he is not foolish either, he cannot believe Zhu Yougui's words. I have opened my eyes to things like signing contracts and updating. I have to be meticulous about everything. Being a good person and living is tiring, and we should be content and always happy. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. First meeting with Li Xingyun. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. First meeting with Li Xingyun. Indeed, according to the secret report I have received, Xuantian gang has lived for over 300 years, with profound skills that are beyond measure, and he has even reached the realm above the great heavenly position. Let's take you and me as examples. If the bad handsome wants to solve us, he probably doesn't need to use 10 moves. Zhu Yougui revealed truthfully. The bad handsome Xuantian gang is indeed the ceiling of the power of the bad person world. If it weren't for this world not soaring, the bad handsome would have broken through the void and left this world long ago. 10 moves. These 300-year-old antiques are actually a realm above the heavenly throne. Does this really exist? I thought it was a legend. After being exposed by Zhu Yougui, he witnessed the vastness of the world. His strong and firm heart immediately stirred up waves, with round and wide eyes and a slightly open mouth full of disbelief. When he regained his composure and his face turned extremely ugly, he said, I used to boast of my exceptional talent when I was ranked as a weak crown, but now it's me who sits on my own and looks down on the world. There is no need for Zhu Yuxian to lie about such things. Zhu Yougui believed Zhu Youxuan's words for a while. For a long time, Zhu Yu's face sank like water and he said, Give me evidence, otherwise I won't believe you. He didn't really believe in the cunning and vicious older brother who wanted to put him to death in the beginning. The real purpose was to protect him and lock him up. This art style has simply changed. Have I hated the wrong person for so many years? Should I be the one who is wrong? He was heartless and let down his elder brother's hard work. Looking at Zhu Yougui, who was a bit conflicted and complicated in his heart, Zhu Yougui knew that it was impossible to deceive Zhu Yougui with just a few words, but it's okay, he can still continue to make up. Immediately revealing a bitter face, the slightly narrowed gaze in the next moment was firm and sincere, earnestly looking at Zhu Yougui. No, but I can prove my sincerity. Reaching out, he took off the skull ornament he carried with him and forcefully crushed it, revealing a black scroll inside. Is this? Zhu Yougui was shocked in his eyes, staring at the familiar thing and making a bold guess in his heart. That's right, this volume is the second volume of the 9 nether Xuantian divine arts that I have studied, called Xuantian. Now I'll give it to you, so you can practice in seclusion in the Chamber of Secrets. When the time comes, it will be your Ghost King's invincibility in the world. The seal of the Ghost King was sealed using voodoo techniques, and to lift the seal, one must use their own blood. Zhu Yougui reached out and bit through his fingertips, dipped his hand in blood and let out a gust of wind. His 5 fingers formed claws, and the internal power of the great heavenly position was like iron and steel claws, flashing a sharp luster. With 2 clicks, he cut off all the chains on the Ghost King's body. Upon seeing the seal lifted, Zhu Youwen's entire body muscles were vigorously moving, and his entire body was engulfed in qi and blood. Drink. The power of the whole person is gradually rising, and the casting knife of the peepa bone is directly thrown out, inserted upside down on the stone wall, and the tail trembles uncontrollably. Immediately after, Zhu Youwen stood up like a fierce tiger descending from the mountain, and in an instant, his aura belonging to the Ghost King surged into the sky. His terrifying and sharp eyes met Zhu Youwen. At this moment, the gaze of the 2 great celestial masters converged, and a terrifying force spread around them, with terrifying needles falling in the darkness. Big brother, are you really going to give me the next exam, Xuantian? Zhu Youwen pondered in his eyes, and with a casual glance, the Jiuyou lower scroll in Zhu Youshuan's hand automatically floated into his own hands. Zhu Youwen looked at the divine skills secret book in his hand and frowned to himself. Are there really no tricks? At the same time, he secretly muttered to himself, did Zhu Yougui really change his personality when he suddenly treated himself so well? Big brother can only use this to prove his sincerity. After all, in order to deal with the bad and handsome, the stronger our brother's skills are, the better. If you want a horse to run, you have to give it more grass to eat. Zhu Yuxian smiled and stood with his hand down under Zhu Youwen's dangerous gaze, expressing in his heart that you could practice as you please. Anyway, I have finished both the upper and lower exams. After you finish practicing, I will throw you out to attract firepower. Zhu Yougui's heart is very big and cannot be satisfied with just one divine skill. Meanwhile, Zhu Yuxian did not tell Zhu Youwen that the upper scroll he had hidden in the practice room had been secretly taken away by himself. Thank you very much, big brother. Zhu Youwen's eyes flickered as he bowed and thanked the elder brother. No matter what medicine his big brother sells in his gourd, he will not practice his kung fu for free. Nowadays, the Xuanming Sect is plagued by internal and external troubles, and all of them are spies of the enemy. I kindly request my second brother to seclude and hibernate again, waiting for the opportunity to soar to the sky. Due to not being tall enough, Zhu Youwen decided to pat his shoulder instead of his thigh. After thinking for a while, Zhu Youwen finally agreed with Zhu Youshuan's opinion. But I just need some time to practice the second volume. Very good, with my second brother's help, I can accomplish great things. I have many things to deal with, so I'll leave the level first and see you again when it's time. Seeing that the Ghost King had finally been lured under his command, Zhu Yougui was extremely happy and bid farewell to his second brother. His figure flashed a few times before disappearing into the basement. Having experienced a long corridor tunnel, with a hidden aura, I have been deceiving Meng Pe and the Judge of Water and Fire with twists and turns. Anyway, he is also the leader of a sect, always knowing a few unknown backdoors. As a black thread, he quickly escaped from the secret path of the Xuanming Sect. When everyone thought that the Dark Emperor was still in seclusion, Zhu Yougui had actually quietly left the Xuanming Sect. And the target is the city of Yuzhou where the protagonist is located, so if you want to earn luck, you naturally have to plot and lay out around the protagonist. While practicing curling up and rushing on the road, enjoying the wind and drink. After 3 days of inquiring, Zhu Yougui, who was traveling at lightning speed, finally concealed himself from everyone and secretly lurked to Yuzhou City. Standing at the entrance of the ancient and vicissitudes of the city, pedestrians bustle through the streets, and vendors connect to sell their products with constant cries. Occasionally, one can see the martial arts heroes carrying swords. After all, wars are going on everywhere, and it's not safe everywhere. At this moment, Zhu Yougui was dressed in tattered civilian attire, with a bamboo hat covering the prominent corners. His once sickly fair skin color also began to recover and become rosy as his cultivation increased. At this moment, looking at his face alone, it seems a bit delicate and cute like a doll carved in powder. After all, he is now like a child of 7 or 8 years old. Unfortunately, I didn't have any silver on me, so I could only steal this tattered children's clothes. In order to avoid revealing one's identity to unscrupulous individuals and to completely change one's appearance. Zhu Yougui dare not use the identity, financial resources, and power of the Xuanming Sect. So I could only load key and tidy up a piece of clothing on the road. When Zhu Yougui was eager to enter the gate, he happened to see a beautiful woman supporting a fainting person into the city. Beautiful women and handsome men. The key is that the girl has a broken sword on her waist. Zhu Yougui, who had been walking all the way, suddenly had a bright eye. It must be Li Xingyun and Lu Linxian. Judging from Li Xingyun's appearance of kidney deficiency, according to the plot, he should have been poisoned by a corpse. This is simple. Jiuyou Xuanming divine skill can restrain and absorb all yin and poison things. God really helped me. As long as I can save Li Xingyun at this moment, I can make him owe me a favor. Zhu Yougui immediately laughed with a creaking sound. How to save oneself as a villain. Of course, it's just hanging out with the protagonist. I won't act anymore, I will surrender to the enemy. I rushed up and was trying to establish a relationship. Hello. Slow down the first two. Zhu Yougui said pure from behind them. At this moment, Lu Linxian was extremely anxious because his senior brother had been poisoned by a corpse. He was about to enter the city to find a cure for his senior brother. When he heard someone stop him, he turned around curiously. I saw a ragged red-haired Jingtai with exposed toes, with a cold face, but a pair of cute and sharp eyes staring at her. Congratulations, you have discovered a wild divine doctor and jumped out. Zhu Yougui straightened his chest with an air, trying to make a serious posture. Cute and fierce little master. JPG. Upon hearing this, Lu Linxian was stunned and also woke up Li Xingyun lying on top of her. Where did the little beggar come from? Life is not easy, it's really pitiful. Lin Xian, give him some broken silver. Old Li, who was lying on his junior sister's shoulder, woke up in a daze and was as angry as paper. When Li Xingyun saw Zhu Yougui, he thought he was a beggar and thought of himself as he had wandered in the world before. He suddenly showed great kindness and made a faint voice to remind his junior sister. Okay, senior brother, said Lu Linxian. Get lost, crawl for me. I'm not begging for food. Zhu Yougui's innocent eyes immediately became angry when he saw that he had been misunderstood. This is because I couldn't help but continue writing a book I read about eunuchs. As a tribute, part of the plot and content in it will be similar to that one. End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Divine Arithmetic. Zhu Yougui. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4. Divine Arithmetic. Zhu Yougui, senior brother, the money bag is missing. It must have been lost during the melee just now. Lu Linxian touched his arms, his face changed, and he said anxiously. What? It's okay then, let's go and pretend we haven't seen anything. Upon hearing this, Li Xingyun decisively fed his kindness to the dog. Laughing to death, my current self may be even poorer than the little beggar in front of me. Finally, Lu Linxian helped Li Xingyun leave, leaving Zhu Yougui with black lines scattered in the local wind. Hey, I'm not really a beggar. Zhu Yougui gritted his teeth, but still used his skills to follow him quickly. In an instant, Zhu Yougui's footsteps moved like ghosts, and a series of special effects of dark and gloomy energy wreaked havoc. A few flashes of martial arts appeared 3 feet in front of Lu Linxian and Li Xingyun, which really scared them. Zhu Yougui stood in the air, with his hands down and his gloomy eyes lightly turning towards Lu Linxian, saying. Did I say you can leave now? Don't you want to detoxify your senior brother's corpse? What, how do you know? Lu Linxian covered his mouth in shock and fear, and his beautiful eyes didn't react at all. He was more surprised by the actions and words of the red-haired child. On the contrary, Li Xingyun's eyes flickered with fear as he encountered a master. He realized he had encountered an expert, and then his eyes turned cunningly. He came down from his surrounded junior sister and forcefully supported himself, clasping his fists and saying, "Amazing! This senior is very skilled. I forgive the younger generation for being careless just now when they came down the mountain. Although I believe the senior will not mind, I, oldly, still want to apologize." Finally, seeing that Zhu Yougui didn't react, Li Xingyun became even more familiar and said with a playful smile, thick-skinned. He, since the senior knows about the corpse poison, please raise your hand and save my old Li's life. I will definitely thank you in the future. Li Xingyun, a clever little ghost, saw that Zhu Yougui had no malicious intentions, so he began to use his thick-faced skin technique to blindly practice and make empty promises. You have a bit of intelligence, kid. I did come to make a good relationship, so I will save your life. Zhu Yougui said mysteriously, although dressed in rags and tatters, the demeanor of a great master still stood out. After listening, Li Xingyun was even more tearful, showing a grateful expression. Good. I know that indeed, old Li Jiren has his own destiny and should not be cut off. Today, the great kindness and virtue of my benefactor are unforgettable. After my injury is healed, I will go through fire and water as instructed by the benefactor. Even if there is no demand, I will still erect a monument to praise virtue, offer immortality and rank, kowtow my head 3 times in the morning and evening, and burn a stick of incense in the morning and evening. There is no way to repay my great kindness and virtue, but wait for the next life to be a cow and a horse. Stop. You chatterbox, don't think I don't know what you're thinking. Put away your boring probing. Zhu Yougui knew that Li Xingyun seemed to be a clever person. This seemingly insincere remark was actually a secret test of his purpose. After all, Zhu Yougui is a stranger, how could he save someone he met by chance without reason? Unless otherwise shown. Ha, have you been discovered? Li Xingyun made a ha to conceal his embarrassment, and then his eyes became sharp. Then please let me know the reason why you came, senior, he said. All right, in order to gain your trust, I can only be honest. My Taoist name is Tianjizi, and I am skilled in divination, calculation, and divination. I am knowledgeable about the past and future. Before the month, I observed the celestial phenomena at night, and calculated that the Purple Star Emperor was rushing to move and guarding the gaps. There is a legacy dragon vein descending in this city of Yuzhou. Zhu Yougui stared at Li Xingyun with burning eyes and said foolishly. I hereby come to escort you from the dragon and make a good fortune. Simply put, it means I need luck. Li Xingyun. Lu Linxian secretly tugged at Li Xingyun's sleeve from behind and whispered, Senior brother, why can't I understand? What is violet star? What is dragon vein? Li Xingyun made an effort to press Lu Linxuan's head back, realizing that this heavenly trick was not simple, just as unfathomable as the mysterious person who had taught him since childhood. He seemed to have no secrets in his eyes, which made him feel very scared. After pondering for a long time, Li Xingyun looked up and said seriously to Zhu Yougui, I don't know what you're talking about, let alone the dragon veins. It's okay if this disease doesn't cure. Junior sister, let's go. I have completely changed my attitude from before. Li Xingyun grabbed Lu Linxuan's tender little hand and was so anxious to leave. Zhu Yougui realized that the old god was present and saw through all the ways. Do you want to buy glutinous rice autonomy? I'll tell you not to think about it. All the glutinous rice in the surrounding shops has been bought by Xuanming Sect. Without my help, you will definitely have a dead end. Anyway, lies don't cost money. What, are you serious? This damn black and white impermanence. Upon hearing this, Lu Linxian was immediately shocked and shook off his senior brother's hand. Without hesitation, he turned around and walked briskly, his eyes firm and sincere, saying, "Can you really save my senior brother?" "Nonsense, why am I here?" Zhu Yougui rolled his eyes and said. "Senior brother, this matter is up to me. We'll let him handle it," Lu Linxian said solemnly, his eyes instantly filled with brilliance as he held on to the stubborn Xingyun. "Okay." Looking at his junior sister's serious gaze, Xingyun was forced to sigh helplessly, knowing that what should have come will eventually come. "That kid, please help me, senior," said Xingyun. Zhu Yougui said, "I wish I had said that earlier. Come with me." "Ah, where are you going?" "My senior brother can't carry it for long," said Lu Linxian. "A tavern." Soon, Zhu Yougui led his two children to the nearby restaurant Yunqing Pavilion and used the 2 taels of silver in his hand to carry 2 large pots of glutinous rice wine. "Wonderful, wonderful, glutinous rice wine contains glutinous rice that can detoxify corpses, why didn't I expect it?" Xingyun collapsed on Lu Linxuan's shoulder with a withered breath, but still exclaimed excitedly. The reason why Xingyun can still stand still is entirely due to Zhu Yougui losing an internal force to him with the power of the heavenly position on the road to sustain his life. Zhu Yougui was also afraid that Xing might accidentally hiccup, so he invested in losing his life. Lu Linxian nodded gratefully and looked at Zhu Yougui. It seemed that senior brother was really saved this time. "Let's go back and find a quiet room. I need to use my internal strength to infuse the ingredients of glutinous rice wine into Xingyun's body in order to dispel his corpse poison." Zhu Youdang was afraid that Jiuyou's magic skill would not be awesome, so he bought some glutinous rice wine to guarantee the bottom. It doesn't make sense that Zhang Zifan, who belongs to the small and medium heavenly realm in the original work, can use alcohol to drive away toxins, but he cannot do so in the large heavenly realm. "Well, let's go back to the inn now." After the 3 of them gathered together, they were ready to rush back to the inn to heal and detoxify when they encountered a group of onlookers eating melons on the way. Zhu Yougui's ears twitched and he stopped his steps. A funny smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. He pointed to the noisy crowd ahead and called out to the 2 of them, "Wait a moment. Based on my years of experience, I've told you that there must be something ahead to eat." Lu Linxian said, Xingyun said, "Well, I'm still waiting for help. Can we stop eating melons?" Zhu Yougui smiled and said, "Eating melons is not positive, there is a problem with attitude." The 2 of them couldn't resist the brain teaser of what's Zhu Yougui, who was pulled by both of them to watch with a strong force. Quickly, the 3 of them squeezed into the crowd and saw a scene with sharp eyes. "Where are you, madam?" "I'm here to find you." Come. Hug. Kiss, raise high." The onlooker was a handsome white-haired handsome guy, who, ironically, was holding a pillar with a red face and saying embarrassing things. It's obvious that he was drunk and treated a pillar like a bride, hugging and gnawing at it. A group of people pointed at the white hair, and the girls blushed with embarrassment, shouting that it was vulgar, but they looked at it with relish, it was simply beautiful and appetizing. "Ah! Senior brother is abnormal." Lu Linxian exclaimed in fear, feeling that the 3 views had been constantly refreshed today. Xingyun also shouted, "Top-notch," with sharp eyes and quickly covered his junior sister's eyes with both hands. Don't look. If you look at such filthy things indiscriminately, your eyes will rot. Remember not to marry such a pervert in the future," Zhu Yougui said mischievously next to Lu Linxian, feeling amused. Are you joking? My junior sister wouldn't be interested in this kind of thing." Old Li's eyes were fierce and he declared loudly. "Who dares to peep at my junior sister? I'll kill him with a knife." That's right. Even if I were killed by black and white impermanence, or even beaten to death by my senior brother, I wouldn't marry such a vulgar, shameless, and abnormal person. Lu Linxian also spoke coldly, feeling that his eyes were not clean, and he felt disgusted by Zhang Zifan's downfall path from the bottom of his heart. Zhu Yougui nodded in satisfaction, and both of them stood tall. He walked towards him with his feet raised, and as he untied the wine jug from his waist, he opened his lips and drank glutinous rice wine, passing by him. Then, he paused and carefully looked at him, muttering a strange way. Such an extraordinary person, there should only be one in the world. Do you know who this pervert is, senior? Li Xingyun became curious. This calculating figure must have had a deeper meaning when he stopped them, and it is highly likely related to the white hair in front of him. Well, I believe this is Zhang Zifan, the young master of Tungwen Hall. Zhu Yougui directly stated his identity. It seems to be writing something that was originally intended for fun, but suddenly we can sign a contract. I worked so hard in the previous book, but never glanced at me. It is true that planting flowers with a heart cannot achieve success, but planting willows without a heart can create shade. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Late stage of advancing to the great heavenly position. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Late stage of advancing to the great heavenly position. Hong Mao, who are you? Zhang Zifan let out a hiccup when he heard someone calling his name. Then, without waiting for Zhu Yougui to reply, he closed his eyes and collapsed weakly. But this undoubtedly acknowledges that what Zhu Yougui said is true. What? It's actually the young master of Tungwen Hall. Lu Linxian supported Li Xingyun's surprised expression, and both of them were startled. They didn't expect that a pervert they encountered on the street could still have such a prominent identity. Tungwen Hall, Huanin Fang, and Xuanming Sect are all the three most terrifying and powerful assassin groups in the entire martial arts world. But the reputation of Tungwen Hall and Xuanming Sect is not very good. There are too many black materials in the martial arts world, such as committing adultery, committing all kinds of crimes, and killing and profiteering. It is worth mentioning that the black and white impermanence who killed Lu Linxuan's father is also a low-level member of the Xuanming Sect. The people from Tongwenwen are not good people, said Lu Linxian. Forget it, let's forget about him. Let's go. Li Xingyun frowned, and he didn't want to cause trouble. Besides, he was now carrying a corpse poison. Although he was hanging with a high-purity skill, if he didn't detoxify it, he would really die. Don't worry, I'll pinch my fingers and calculate. This person is destined for you and me, so let's take them back together. Zhu Yougui looked at Zhang Zifan, who was delivered to the door, with a burning expression in his eyes. This kid's father was a master in the later stage of the great heavenly realm, and he also had the Five Thunder Heavenly Heart technique in his hand. If the operation is good, you can use Zhang Zifan to pull them into his hands. I don't understand why you brought this bad guy with you, Lu Linxian frowned and said slightly. This reminded her of the impermanence of black and white, so she didn't have a good impression of the people from these three major forces. That's right, why is Taoist leading this pervert? According to my old Li, just leave him on the street to fend for himself. Li Xingyun smiled playfully, not believing in what Zhu Yougui said about fate. Are you teaching me how to do things? Zhu Yougui's eyes sharpened, and a chilling killing intent spread throughout his body. The two of them were suffocated by the pressure of their heavenly position. All right. Whatever the Taoist says, we, Old Li, will be the first to support it. Li Xingyun gritted his teeth to help Lu Linxian hold up the pressure, and looked up with a smile on his face. The two of them were afraid of this wicked and intimidating child, so they had no choice but to report back to the surrounding melon-eating crowd and bring the drunken Zhang Zifan back to the inn. Returning to the inn, Lu Linxian closed the doors and windows of the room and turned to Zhu Yougui with concern, saying, "My senior brother is almost unable to hold on, please help me quickly." "Calm down, little question." Zhu Yougui silently untied the kettle from his waist and poured out a handful of water from the bought glutinous rice wine. Without a bowl, Zhu Yougui reached out to pick it up, causing a shocking event to occur. Amazingly, this rippling water mass floated in mid-air, floating in the air above Zhu Yougui's palm. Are you ready? Li Xingyun. Zhu Yougui secretly manipulated the 9 Yuxian underworld divine arts up and down, with the aim of using glutinous rice wine and martial arts to detoxify together. At the same time, this is also an opportunity to merge the upper and lower scrolls, perfect and flawless Xiangong, which can completely restore the hidden illness of being possessed by fire and go further. The corpse poison inside Li Xingyun's body is also a great supplement to dark matter. Zhu Yougui wanted to use corpse poison as an external stimulus to break through the threshold and let his years of accumulation go to the later stage of the great heavenly realm with one breath. Li Xingyun nodded and closed his eyes, saying with great courage, "Please do whatever you want, senior. Then I won't be polite." Zhu Yougui chuckled and sat down cross-legged, starting to practice the 9 nether Xuantian divine arts. As he practiced, he suddenly heard a huge black thread in chi spreading out, and the skeletons gradually solidified and swirled in the black internal skills. Suddenly, Zhu Yougui was surrounded by a 3 square circle, filled with black true energy. The misty purple light gradually condensed on Zhu Yougui's hands and converged in the dantian. At the next moment, the hand forcefully lifted and sent forward, and the black energy of the 9 Yuxian heaven wrapped around the rice wine and condensed into needles, piercing into Li Xingyun's body one after another. Puff! Li Xingyun spat out a mouthful of black blood on the spot, his eyes darkening, and he collapsed weakly. Senior brother. Lu Linxian let out a panicked cry, wanting to step forward in fear, but another hand stabilized her shoulder. In a low voice, he said, "Don't go over, this little red-haired ghost has amazing martial arts skills, and the black air masses around him are all extremely dangerous. With your strength, just a little residual power during the process of using your skills can shake you to death." Upon hearing this, Lu Linxian stopped with palpitations, but she suddenly drew her sword and placed it around the neck of the person behind her. "Don't take any action, my own people." Behind him was naturally Zhang Zifan, who had woken up from his drunkenness, with a confident and charming smile on his handsome little white face. Unexpectedly, this smile made Lu Linxian feel a chill. She withdrew her sword, lifted her leg, and kicked him instead. Then she coldly hummed and said, "Don't touch me casually, I'll change my attitude." I said, "Why aren't you reasonable, woman? You brought me here." Zhang Zifan hugged his feet in injustice. "Humph, anyway, it's just that you're not right." Lu Linxian didn't turn his head and focused on her senior brother, not wanting to talk to this crazy pervert. Sure enough, only women and petty people are difficult to raise. Zhang Zifan shook his head in pain. Although the girl looked good, he was charming, so it was not appropriate to lick a dog. Not wanting to argue too much, Zhang Zifan turned to look at the 2 people in the center of the bed with sharp and serious eyes. Zhang Zifan has just woken up from a drunken state, feeling confused. God knows how he was kidnapped here, and when he woke up, he saw a martial arts master whose strength was completely inferior to his adoptive father. However, looking at the dark atmosphere around Zhu Yougui, Zhang Zifan showed a thoughtful expression and was stunned as if lost in thought. Zhu Yougui's drug use process has also reached a crucial step. Zhu Yuxian reached out his hand repeatedly and unleashed black energy into Li Xingyun's body. Seeing this, Lu Linxuan's face was full of nervousness and worry. Finally, Zhu Youxuan's crimson eyes roared loudly, "Suck." With a double small hand lift, the corpse poison was completely extracted from Li Xingyun's body. With a wave of the hand, all the toxins burst out, and strands of purine toxin tonifying substances entered his body. "Alright, it's okay, he'll wake up later." Zhu Yougui clapped his hands. Li Xingyun was okay, but now it's his own problem. Zhu Yougui ignored Lu Linxian, who was showing Li Xingyun a look, and closed his eyes to rest alone. Now, his internal strength fluctuates and rises step by step. Now that the upper and lower scrolls have achieved great divine skills, the drawbacks of being possessed by demons have begun to be improved, and progress will naturally reach the later stage. Condensing, the black true qi quickly condensed and formed a 3-foot square sphere around Zhu Yougui, enveloping him as time passed by bit by bit. Xingyun had already woken up and handed over his grateful room to Zhu Yougui, while the others silently retreated. Several people volunteered to act as protectors outside the room, as a reward to protect Zhu Yougui. 3 days had passed in the blink of an eye, and the black vigorous energy surrounding Zhu Yougui gradually solidified. At some point, suddenly, Zhu Yougui opened his eyes and his pupils turned crimson. "Drink!" Zhu Yougui let out a loud shout, opened his hands, and a 3-zhang-high black skeleton phantom appeared on qi, enveloping him. This was his unique martial arts appearance, which looked very domineering. Great heavenly position late stage. Zhu Yougui stood up satisfied and looked at himself in the mirror. He is now about the height of a normal person, but his figure is thin and his face is still sickly pale. At the same time, 2 pointed horns on his head, which were about 10 centimeters long and slightly curved upwards due to being possessed by a fire, did not disappear. They were dazzling black in color, and his long red painted hair was scattered behind him. After finishing his work, Zhu Yougui carefully felt it and said, "Now that I have mastered the 9 Use chapter, I have truly earned it. Not only have I cured my body of being possessed by evil, but my accumulated skills over the years have also become a natural progression to the later stage of the great heavenly position. With my current strength, as long as I don't match the bad handsome, I can protect myself without any problems. The vastness of the world can be achieved. And this is just the beginning." Zhu Yougui stared straight at the sunrise outside the window, which was about to jump out of the horizon. His crimson amber pupils reflected a hint of the sun's dawn. His gaze became sharper, as if an eagle was glancing at him, looking down at the world. Wherever he passed, there was a hint of brilliance. The previous one was blocked, but now I have changed it back and it has also been released. I just said, how could I possibly change the color? You can tell from my name that I am old and pure. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Gambling with Zhang Zifan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. Gambling with Zhang Zifan. Ding, the host intercepted the Hu and saved Xingyun, changing the plot and gaining 200 qi. A warning sound sounded in his mind, and Zhu Yougui laughed heartily. Indeed, squatting next to the protagonist and masturbating was the right choice. Zhu Yougui, who was proud of the spring breeze, pushed open the door and walked straight out. Soon, Xingyun, who was crouching at the threshold, heard the commotion and rubbed his sleepy eyes. "Good morning, Xingyun," said Zhu Yougui. "Good morning, senior." Xingyun instinctively replied and soon saw Zhu Yougui, who had undergone a transformation before him. He opened his eyes wide and felt something was wrong, exaggerating and shouting. "I'll go, senior." "You finally woke up, and how did you change?" The sound quickly attracted the other two to come out, and Zhang Zifan and Lu Linxian happened to buy breakfast and come back together. These two people looked curiously at the stranger who suddenly appeared in front of them. But the horns on Zhu Yougui's head and the standard red hair on that head were too conspicuous, so I naturally recognized him as the grown-up Zhu Yougui. Wow, even my appearance has really changed. Lu Linxian excitedly circled around him twice, even daring to pinch the corner of Zhu Yougui's head, and said with great interest. "So, does the senior really look like this? He's quite handsome." I said, "How could he be such a child?" "Congratulations on the breakthrough, senior." Zhang Zifan dared not underestimate the mysterious red-haired man in front of him, and respectfully clasped his fists and bowed. During these 3 days, Zhang Zifan seems to have become acquainted with Xingyun and Lu Linxian. Through getting to know each other, both Li Xingyun and Lu Linxian have become aware of his special tendencies and know that he has misunderstood them. In fact, they are not inherently bad. It's mainly because Zhang Zifan fell in love with Lu Linxian at first sight and stayed behind like a licking dog, clinging to his face. So the relationship between the few people is quite harmonious. Thanks to you all, I can only break through with luck. Zhu Yougui nodded with a light smile, exuding a return to simplicity throughout his body. In the later stage of the great heavenly realm, the master's temperament became increasingly close to his martial arts heart, with the more upright and domineering the regular, and the more evil and dark the evil. Zhu Yougui wore a smile on his face, believing that Li Xingyun's lead group would bring him a continuous stream of luck in the future. Has he become stronger again? Li Xingyun and Zhang Zifan secretly exchanged a tacit glance, both swallowing their saliva. This mysterious guy is definitely the strength of the heavenly realm, and his appearance and age are similar to theirs. How could he have such strong strength? Alright, don't say so much. Let's eat early in the morning first. Lu Linxian ran over and grabbed Li Xingyun's arm, while gesturing to Zhang Zifan, let's go, everyone, don't stick around here, I'm almost starving. Zhang Zifan and Li Xingyun both wanted to ask something more, but were casually pulled to the dining table by the girl Lu Linxian. Arrange the exquisite breakfast you bought and add a few extra pots of aged wine. Lu Linxian was truly grateful to Zhu Yougui from the bottom of his heart, and poured several glasses of wine for him at the table. Zhu Yougui also refused to come and drank for 3 rounds. Come on, drink more. Li Xingyun smiled on the surface, trying his best to fill Zhu Yougui's cup while pretending to ask a question unintentionally. Senior, oh no, you're so young. I'll call you Big Brother instead of calling you Senior. The meaning is that you have such strong thighs, why don't you be my big brother? The next second, without waiting for Zhu Yougui to refuse, Li Xingyun cried again. Big brother, you don't know how hard we've been working these past few days. Not only have we been here to guard the door for you for 3 days and nights, but we also have to avoid the pursuit of the Xuanming Sect. There's no friendship, there's also emotions, right? Isn't that very touching? But until now, you haven't told us what exactly your identity is. Li Xingyun appeared to be mixed in tears and laughter, pretending to ask a question unintentionally. There it is, Lao Li's signature style approach is almost asking for intelligence. Zhang Zifan and Lu Linxian on the side squinted their eyes and quietly perked up their ears upon hearing this. They are also very curious about this issue. Faced with the expectant gazes from the 3 of them, Zhu Yougui reached out and coughed a few times, thinking to himself that I was afraid I would say that I was the leader of the Xuanming Sect, which scared you to death. Before the time comes, I can only say my surname is Zhu. As long as you know that I have no ill intentions, that's all. Alright, then I'll call you Brother Zhu from now on. Li Xingyun instantly hit the snake and stick, and then Big Brother shouted out, talking nonsense about how long it's better not to hold this thigh at this moment. As for identity issues, it's okay. Who doesn't have any secrets when wandering in the martial arts world? Li Xingyun has his own secrets, and his old friend Li would not casually explore the privacy of others and care about his background when making friends. Then I'll call you Brother Zhu, too. Lu Linchuan's eyes lit up and he pulled Zhu Yougui's wrist with a sweet smile. You are quite slippery, Zhu Yougui smiled. Sure enough, people in the martial arts world have a good thigh to take care of. If my legs don't come to welcome me, I'll come find them myself. Zhang Zifan blushed with an old face and wanted to go with the crowd and acknowledge his thigh. Just as he was about to say something, Zhu Yougui raised his hand and stopped, just forget it, by Mao. Zhang Zifan. With these words, Zhu Yougui turned his head towards Li Xingyun and muttered, although you don't know, I know you. I know what you know, and I know what you don't know. Faced with 3 people's confusion, Zhu Yougui confidently and arrogantly said. What I said before is also true. I am indeed skilled in divination and fortune-telling. It's not that I'm just bragging about the mysteries of the heavens. I have known for 500 years before and 500 years later. In this regard, even if Yuan Tiangang and Li Chunfeng survived, I am not as good as me. This statement startled the whole room. Led by Li Xingyun, the three of Zhang Zifan and Lu Linxian finally showed shocked faces. Terrifying, inhumane. Lao Li exaggeratedly raised his hand and wiped away the sweat seeping from his head, then chuckled and said in a low voice, "Brother Zhu, are you joking? 500 years ago, 500 years later. What arrogant and arrogant words these are. Those who can say such things are either boastful or foolish. The last one is madness. And arrogance requires skill. He, the senior's words are a bit exaggerated. Yuan Tiangang is a miraculous figure in Li Tang's calculations, and Li Chunfeng is the best feng shui figure in history. Even if the senior is no matter how powerful, at most he can be compared to one or two. Zhang Zifan didn't believe it at all, and straightforwardly told him not to brag too much. Ah, the frog sitting in the well. It doesn't know the days, nor the height and thickness of the earth. Zhu Yougui sneered. Zhang Zifan's eyes were filled with evil intent, and he stood up angrily, saying, "You." Zhu Yougui's eyes glared fiercely, hunting moment. Zhang Zifan sat back from his heart and entrusted Chu Baba. Jpg, I can't afford to provoke you. Oh, the little one still has a temper. You're not convinced, so I'll give you a hand. Come on, just so the kid can see me. If you're right, I'm your son. Zhang Zifan's eyes lit up after hearing this. Since he couldn't fight, he planned to expose Zhu Yougui's true face in a roundabout way. Pooh, I don't have you, a useless brat. It would be careless to be my little brother with your demeanor. Moreover, in the future, if you were to go east, you wouldn't be able to go west, and if you were to hit Dad, you wouldn't be able to hit the boss. Zhu Yougui's eyes were provocative, and there was a hint of disdain at the corner of his mouth. He was my son. Dreaming. Another person who wants to crave their thighs has no choice but to make themselves a coveted treasure now. Okay, but if you miscalculated, then you have to be my little brother. Zhang Zifan's eyes were burning, and he confidently opened the folding fan and fanned it, even his body straightened quite a bit. It's a deal, said Zhu Yougui. This gambling battle has been finalized like this. Li Xingyun and Lu Linxian looked excited on the side, eager to catch fire. They also wanted to see how Zhu Yuxian told his fortune. Is it possible, as he said, to predict the heavens? If it is true, then it is truly a case of divine intervention. What do you want to do? I'll definitely cooperate with you to the best of my ability, Zhang Zifan said confidently, with a confident and handsome expression. I have the ability to touch bones and fortune-telling. Women touch misfortunes, men touch hands. As for white hair, you can reach out and the lifeline in your hand contains your destiny. Zhu Yougui opened his innocent big eyes and shook his head in a funny way. For him, who is familiar with the plot and history, it is really easy to deceive the ancients by calculating his fate. To put it bluntly, it's a spoiler who can ruin all of your indigenous underwear. Pretend to be mischievous. Zhang Zifan confidently reached out his paw towards Zhu Yougui. Zhu Yougui grabbed his hand and pretended to take a look, but then he really took a look. Just put it down, Li Xingyun. Lu Linxian. Zhang Zifan. Is that all? It seems like your eyes haven't blinked yet. Facing the puzzled gazes of the crowd, Zhu Yougui remained calm and composed. Mainly, he can't understand palm prints either. But is this a matter? Although Zhu Yougui doesn't understand, he can make up. Cough, if I'm not mistaken, did you sneak out of your home? Your strength is probably around Xuantian's level, Zhu Yougui recalled the plot. Zhang Zifan said, Looking at Zhang Zifan, who was silent, Li Xingyun and Lu Linxian knew that Zhu Yuxian was really right. No. Is what Zhu, who just met, said true. He really has the ability to predict the future and know everything. Ah, that doesn't count. You might have guessed or heard about it earlier. If you have the ability, let's talk a bit more about secrecy. Zhang Zifan thought for a moment and said stubbornly. Okay, you're not actually an orphan. I also know who your biological father is. He has been looking for you for so many years, and your adoptive father is actually a bad person. After a showdown, Zhu Yougui chose to directly engage in major moves. Since you don't see the coffin and don't shed tears, I'll just use a big trick to scare you to death. Around chapter 10, we're going to travel through other worlds to play. We'll come find Xuantian gang to play when we're promoted. Do you have any suggestions? Which world do you want to go to? My initial draft is the twin dragons of the Tang Dynasty because as a beginner, one's strength cannot be too high. This ancient martial world is quite good and can also be excessive, mainly because Xingyun's has been written poorly. I don't want to write anymore. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Spoilers, signed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7 Spoilers, signed, Impossible. What? This melon is quite big. Upon hearing Zhu Youshuan's words, Lu Linxian and Li Xingyun opened their mouths and glanced at each other, both able to see a strong shock in each other's eyes. Li Xingyun suddenly felt that this melon was a bit too big, and it was related to someone else's private matter. It could even be the secret of the Tungwen library, and the chair under his buttocks was either sitting or not sitting. Some ideas suddenly came to mind. Do I want to give them some privacy? Should I know how to avoid it? Okay, I'll listen to Yidiandian first and then make plans. This is impossible. My adoptive father told me that I am an orphan, and my biological parents died long ago. Compared to these two foodies, Zhang Zifan, as the person involved, was the one who still heard the bolt from the blue. His whole body trembled violently, and it was hard to imagine that with his small heavenly power, he almost fell. Zhang Zifan clenched his teeth and looked at him with a surprised and angry expression. You're lying. If what Zhu Yougui said is true, doesn't it mean that his adoptive father is deceiving him and denying his many years of life? In fact, you are the son of Zhang Xianling, the Chongxian immortal of Xuanwu Mountain's heavenly master mansion, and Su Huan, the 13 provinces sacrificial wine immortal. Your adoptive father, Li Youwen, is actually the enemy of your family's downfall. It was he who took you away from your biological parents and even trained you into a killer to retaliate against your parents. Zhu Yougui quietly dug out his ears and drank alcohol. I'll go, this melon is getting more and more outrageous and surprising. Li Xingyun's hand holding the wine glass froze, neither eating nor not eating. He never expected that so many melons would be implicated in an old murder case. What evidence do you have? Zhang Zifan still gritted his teeth and didn't believe it. In fact, he was more unwilling to doubt his adoptive father who had treated him well for so many years. Evidence. This is also simple. Think carefully, has your father ever given you fatherly love over the years? Don't deceive yourself and tell me that he is only strict with you. In his eyes, you are just a tool. Zhu Yougui's words once again plunged Zhang Zifan into deep contemplation. Zhu Yougui is very confident. With Li Youwen's cunning and cunning personality, how could he possibly give his enemy's son fatherly love? I heard that the legitimate lineage of Longhu Mountain has white hair and often breaks when drinking alcohol. I also heard that Li Youwen had been to Longhu Mountain many years ago and had an extra child when he returned. If you don't believe it, you can ask your uncle, and you can check the rest yourself. Zhu Yougui drank a glass of wine and said a few words if he had any intention. Is it evidence that the family has inherited white hair and drank alcohol in pieces? Zhang Zifan. Li Xingyun. Lu Linxian. It's a real hammer. The truth is revealed. Zhang Zifan's body shook violently, his eyes fixed like a wooden chicken. Has he been recognizing thieves as his father for so many years? The truth you still want is actually in your memory. Another sentence from Zhu Yougui stirred up a sensation in Zhang Zifan's heart. Because you were taken away by Li Xiyuan during your childhood, your memory is blurry, but it's not completely non-existent. You have blood ties on your body, and there is a lyrics deeply engraved in your blood memories. And this is exactly what Li Xiyuan has put in a lot of effort to obtain. What is it? Zhang Zifan gritted his teeth. The Five Thunder Heavenly Heart Technique. Zhu Yougui paused word by word. The Five Thunder Heavenly Heart Technique. What is that? Lu Linxian, as a novice, curiously asked. Faced with a question from Lu Linxian, Zhu Yougui spoke a bit too much and lost his voice. He picked up a glass of wine and drank it all in one gulp, then tilted his clean chin and gave everyone a lecture. It is a unique teaching skill of the Heavenly Master's mansion, which can absorb thousands of thunderbolts for personal use. It has been passed down for thousands of years as a single lineage, confirmed by father and son, and has the same meaning. It is the ultimate divine skill of the time, with great power and earth-shattering power. After training, the whole body is filled with thunderbolts and thunder, like a god of thunder descending into the world, invincible. Isn't that awesome? Li Xingyun boasted. In my heart, I couldn't help but think of the heavenly gang technique that the mysterious person taught me. The mysterious person praised it so much that I didn't know who was stronger or weaker compared to it. Am I really? Zhang Zifan thought carefully about himself and indeed remembered a nursery rhyme that often appeared in his dreams when he was a child, with a faint impression of himself being carried away by a man in black. But it's quite blurry. After all, the time has been too long. Zhang Zifan remained silent for a long time and said, I will investigate this matter. If it is true, then it is great kindness. I, Zhang Zifan, recognize you as the boss. If there are orders in the future, I will definitely go through fire and water. After speaking, Zhang Zifan stood up and clenched his fists at the three of them, saying, Master Zhu, Brotherly, and Lin Xian, Zhang will bid farewell first and meet you later. After speaking, he turned around and left, looking at the expression on his face as he left, which was full of eagerness. Li Xingyun and Lu Linxian couldn't stop him either. If Zhu Yougui was talking about Zhang Zifan's background, then he was indeed quite miserable. Zhang Zifan left with great enthusiasm, intending to contact several uncles who were very good to him through the contact method of Tungwen Hall or flying pigeons to verify his background. Only Zhu Yougui, Li Xingyun, and Lu Linxian were left sitting at the table. Brother Zhu, are what you're saying true? Asked Lu Linxian. This white hair is really miserable. I wonder if he can find his father and reunite with the mother and son when he goes, sighed Li Xingyun. Yes, Zhu Yougui said. Zhang Zifan will find his parents. Ding, unraveled the mystery of Zhang Zifan's background in advance, successfully changed the plot, and increased qi by 300. Zhu Yougui was taken aback by the fact that spoilers can indeed increase qi luck. The reason why Zhang Zifan's story is mentioned now is not only to make Zhang Zifan owe him a huge favor, but also, as Zhu Yougui thought, he took away a trace of Zhang Zifan's luck, causing his luck to suddenly increase by 300 points. You didn't see it wrong, but with just a small spoiler, it increased by 300 points. Zhu Yougui has changed Zhang Zifan's fate. Will his father still die? Although Zhang Zifan is not the protagonist, he is also the second male lead. He carries a lot of luck, just a little bit of it. Zhu Yougui gained 300 luck. If Zhang Zifan could willingly work for him and join his team, he would definitely gain more luck. Taking advantage of this good opportunity, we are also destined, and I will also calculate for you too. Don't worry, there is no charge. Zhu Yougui knew that spoilers can also increase their luck, so he immediately extended his claws to the remaining two, and a malicious smile appeared on the corner of his mouth. Ah! Isn't that necessary? Lu Linxian smiled awkwardly and covered his chest with his bare hands. Zhu Yougui. You don't need to touch the culprit anymore. Your life is simply written on your face. You are the only daughter of the great hero Lu Yu. When you were 8 years old, your father was killed by Black and White Wuchang in the Battle of Yuzhou City. Later, you studied under the great hero Uncle Yang. Well, you're right. Lu Linxian nodded with a pale face, saying everything was right. After Zhang Zifan finished writing the letter, he also returned to the table. He had to wait for several days when his uncle's news came back. It's impossible to go back now, and he can only blame himself irritably. I'll go, Brother Zhu. You're absolutely right. I also want to learn this skill from you. Li Xingyun gave Zhu Yougui a thumbs up and laughed heartily. Forget it, you should practice your martial arts well. Zhu Yuxian frowned, realizing that after speaking to Lu Linxian, the system had no response and his energy had not increased. But there is one more thing. Zhu Yougui looked at Li Xingyun with ill intentions and said wickedly. You seem to have a lot of secrets on you. Li Xingyun's face turned pale as he bowed and begged for mercy. Brother Zhu, please show mercy. Can't you? Senior brother, do you really have any undisclosed secrets? Lu Linxian looked at Li Xingyun strangely and said, all right, Li Xingyun, be lenient in your confession, be strict in your resistance, and be honest. Let's eat first. Today's food is really delicious, isn't it? Li Xingyun chuckled, but he blamed Zhu Yougui in his heart. How can I explain everything to my junior sister? Li Xingyun looked at Zhang Zifan and his eyes lit up, saying, hey, why don't we continue talking about Zhang Zifan's melons? I think there must be a big secret in this kid. Zhang Zifan. Danger. Zhu Yougui wanted to catch Li Xingyun's hand in testing the principle of increasing qi, but Li Xingyun had already anticipated and avoided him. Zhu Yougui's eyes flickered. Oh, isn't the sample good? I will still hide. Ran Bing egg, so he changed his claws and grabbed Li Xingyun's foot, effortlessly. Li Xingyun, who was lifted up, said. Zhu Yougui coughed and directly chose the spoilers to say. Li Xingyun was born on the 2nd day of the 2nd lunar month, the 10th son of Emperor Zhaozong of Tang, Li Yi, and the younger brother of Emperor Ai of Tang, Li Zhua. He wandered in the martial arts world and is currently studying under Uncle Yang's tutelage. After 8 years in the mountains, he traveled with his junior sister Lu Linxian in the martial arts world. He usually likes to play the role of a pig and eat tigers, but his hidden strength is probably a small heavenly position. Several people are too lazy to roast about the setting of Zhu Yudang's bone touching. What about touching the culprit and hands as agreed? So I'm not pretending, right? Is that right / senior brother, you are actually an orphan of the royal family. Lu Linxian covered his mouth hard, only to find out today that his senior brother had such a shocking identity. Little heavenly power, hee, you really know how to hide. Hee, I didn't expect that Brother Li's background was even more bumpy than mine, and Zifan admired him. Zhang Zifan chuckled at Li Xingyun, who was bitter, and suddenly felt a lot of relief in his mood. Indeed, when it comes to tragedy, one must watch others suffer in order to enjoy themselves. I'm about to make a recommendation, the first step for a towering building. I want to have 2 shifts that day, but I don't have any manuscripts in hand. Wait until you die, end of this chapter. Chapter 8 Zhu Yougui. Do you want to know your future daughter? Law. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8 Zhu Yougui. Do you want to know who your future daughter? Law is? I didn't expect you to even know this. I finally have a little belief that you have no plans to escape. Brother Zhu's fortune-telling ability is admirable. Li Xingyun's head was really big, and he hurriedly dealt with his junior sister's words of necessity and grievances. As for the end, he naturally gained the latter's understanding. Ding, revealing Li Xingyun's identity in advance changed the plot and increased his luck by 100. Zhu Yougui's eyes lit up, realizing that the focus was on changing the plot. Spoiler: Lu Linxian proves that there is no plot value. Therefore, Zhu Yougui has a bold idea. With a smile that both men understood on his face and innocent big eyes open, he said something that neither of the two men present could refuse. Do you want to know who your future daughter-in-law is? As soon as these words were spoken, the three of Lei's hearts were once again in turmoil. Zhang, Zifan and Xingyun were struck by lightning, and their faces showed a very similar lewd smile. Lu Linchuan's pretty face blushed slightly and he quietly lowered his head. Xingyun swallowed his saliva, rubbed his hands and eyes, his voice urgent and excited as he squinted. Brother Zhu, can this also be calculated? What do you say? Zhu Yougui rolled his eyes and said. Cough. Zhang Zifan's refined and polite face turned cold, and he sternly complained to Xingyun. Brotherly, that's why you're wrong. My boss is also something you can question. Then he clasped his fist and bowed to Zhu Yougui, saying, Boss, I've figured it out. Please take my little brother's knee. Xingyun. As soon as I heard about a daughter-in-law, even the old man recognized her, you damn double-standard dog. Lu Linchuan's face turned cold with anger and he said, Hee hee, the boar in heat. Xingyun said, Hee 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 hee. Zhang Zifan said, a graceful lady is a good match for a gentleman. Spring has arrived, and everything is in the season of recovery. Zhu Yougui took a sip of tea, stretched out a tender white hand, and twisted his finger. The international standard gesture is. If you want to know, bring something good and exchange it. No one can ignore their future partner. Our relationship, who is with whom? Talking about money hurts our feelings. Xingyun hugged Zhu Yougui's shoulder and had a look of wanting to go for free. When it comes to emotions that hurt money, just say one thing. Exchange your martial arts skills for information about someone who is destined for marriage. Do you want to exchange it? Zhu Yougui flicked him away with one finger and said coldly. Exchange is absolutely exchange. Whenever the boss says you want anything, I'll give it to you. Even if it's something that my boss Li doesn't have, I'll just pick the stars and get the moon for you. Xingyun said with a righteous expression on his face. On the side, Lu Linxian covered his blushing face as his senior brother threw himself to death. Zhu Yougui said. Heavenly gang technique. Xingyun was stunned, as if he had been doused with cold water from the beginning. After a long time, his face turned bitter and he said, Do you know him? That strange person in black with a mask. Zhu Yougui said, I've never seen it before, but I've been in close contact with you for a long time. Who the hell is he? For so many years, the masked guy who has been secretly teaching you martial arts has been living from the early Tang Dynasty to the present day. He is the leader of the Hidden Weapon Valley and the leader of the villains, and his real name is Xuantian gang. Zhu Yougui's words caused a huge uproar. Xingyun and Lu Linxian were both stunned, and Lu Linxian questioned, You're not lying to us, are you? How could anyone have lived from the early Tang Dynasty to the present? Just because he is Xuantian gang. Zhu Yougui said with both admiration and a sigh, throughout history, he has been invincible, hating the ancients for not seeing them, and now he has no resistance. Everyone took a cold breath and sweat soaked their backs. As you said, is this still human? Sorry, I once promised him that this martial arts skill has a special significance, so I cannot change it. Both Lu Linxian and Zhang Zifan were surprised that Xingyun seemed to have changed his mind, yet he remained very calm and firmly refused this proposal. Is this heavenly gang technique very harmful? Harm is also a matter of fate. Since you don't want it, I won't force it either. Let's switch to another one. The Huayang needle technique has no killing power and is harmless to humans and animals, right? Zhu Yougui opened his pure big eyes and said. Believe me, I promise I won't use him to kill. That's right, I won't use it to kill, I'll only use it for useless people. Zhu Yougui was deeply afraid that he would be invalidated by Huayang acupuncture in the future, so he decided to learn and integrate it first. Ah, this Li Xingyun makes sense. Although Huayang needle technique was also taught to him by a mysterious person when he was a child, its importance is clearly lower than that of Tiangang technique. Li Xingyun glanced left and right for a moment, then secretly asked. How does your sister law look? The beauty of heaven, the beauty of the country, the beauty of the city, said Zhu Yougui with a faint allure. Li Xingyun gritted his teeth and clapped his hand in an instant. I changed it. Fuck him, he's a bad handsome guy. My martial arts are up to me. If it's because of the wife, everything can be thrown away. In that case, could you demonstrate the Huayang acupuncture technique to me once? Zhu Yougui plans to use his qi to gain an epiphany and see if he can learn this legendary acupuncture technique. Can I avoid it for a moment? Zhang Zifan withdrew the cage paper fan with great wit. Zhu Yougui and Li Xingyun remained calm, as if they had agreed. After all, the Dharma does not spread to the 6 ears, and they can only be said to share the same interests as Zhang Zifan. They have not yet reached the point where they need to put their hearts and lungs into it. So am I too? Lu Linxian asked with confusion. Li Xingyun directly grabbed Lu Linxuan's wrist and forced her to stay behind with a smile, saying, My dear junior sister, there's no need to avoid suspicion. You're one of the closest people I've ever been to in this world. If you learn this acupuncture technique, it will be very beneficial for you, whether it's treating illnesses, saving people, or detoxifying and healing injuries. Well, thank you, senior brother. Lu Linxian nodded happily and said, knowing enough not to ask Li Xingyun about the detailed origin of the martial arts. There were some things that were really inconvenient to reveal. Li Xingyun is willing to teach her a martial arts skill that even Zhu Yougui is passionate about. It is enough to prove that her senior brother has her place in his heart, and he is deeply moved. Moreover, some things are not suitable for breaking. Li Xingyun opened a needle box from his own belt and pulled out silver needles of varying lengths. The needles had an ancient style but shone with a cold light, making them very sharp at a glance. Li Xingyun pinched one with 2 fingers. Let's talk about it first. I am indeed willing to teach this needle technique, and its purpose is to help the world by hanging a teapot. Li Xingyun himself doesn't believe what he said, but there's nothing he can do. The truth must be grandiose. Well, at least he needs to convince himself that it's definitely not for any woman. Zhu Yougui and Lu Linxian were amused but didn't point it out. A few people happened to borrow a set of puppet figures specifically for needles from a nearby pharmacy, and now Li Xingyun also got serious and said. The content of Huayang acupuncture is profound and complex, and it also involves the medical principles of human acupoints. The meridians and blood flow are not something that ordinary people can learn, it depends on your own abilities. You don't have to worry, just stick a needle on the dummy to demonstrate. Zhu Yougui, confident that he has a chi luck cheat in his hand and can choose to have an epiphany, was very confident. Confidence is a good thing, so let me demonstrate it first. Li Xingyun smiled on the surface but couldn't help but feel extremely disgusted. He thought that he had spent several years of his life achieving great success since elementary school and was praised by Yuan Tiangang for his excellent qualifications. How could Zhu Yougui learn it all at once? Is this needle technique so difficult? Lu Linxian frowned bitterly, his 2 small hands constantly wriggling, a little worried that his brain was too foolish to learn, which would waste his senior brother's hard work. It's not just that difficult, the learning process of Huayang acupuncture is also more difficult than other martial arts. It requires learners to spend 3 to 5 years learning medical skills first, so that they can only learn Huayang acupuncture after having a foundation. Zhu Yougui said calmly, which means that even if Li Xingyun is willing to teach, with Lu Linxuan's qualifications, they cannot learn it. It seems that Brother Zhu knows better than I do. Li Xingyun's eyes narrowed as he looked at his own Zhu Yougui, with an unprecedentedly complex expression in his eyes. At the next moment, while speaking, Xingyun casually shook his hand. At the same time, the needle box in Xingyun's hand seemed to be manipulated by invisible silk thread, and the ding bell rang. A cold shining Huayang needle had already flown out of thin air, piercing the dummy's Tanzhong acupoint in the plain gaze of Zhu Yougui. For martial arts practitioners, the Tanzhong acupoint is taboo. Xingyun's right hand suddenly flexed his fingers, and 2 Huayang needles bounced up. With a little movement of his fingers, they flew into the Dazhui and Mingmen acupoints. As long as I use my internal power, this dummy's martial arts will be ruined. Xingyun only used his technique, but did not use his internal power. Then he shook his head with a bitter smile. But there's no need to worry, Brother Zhu. This technique also has limitations. If there's a big difference in skills between the two people, I'll probably be thrown away by the protective spirit when I inject internal energy. I know. Zhu Yougui closed his eyes calmly. He didn't care if Xingyun would secretly disable his martial arts. Although Huayang needle technique is impressive, Xingyun is only a small celestial position and cannot abolish a large celestial position. He is now more concerned about the progress bar displayed on the system template as Xingyun teaches in his mind. Because the martial arts symbols related to martial arts have gradually formed, resembling badges. The above clearly shows. In the study of Huayang acupuncture, the completion rate is 1%. Does it consume 200 qi to accelerate enlightenment learning? Yes. Zhu Yougui decisively agreed that all the accumulated points over the past few days would be taken away. At the same time, Xingyun also stopped his hand and had already demonstrated everything. Even the operating mind techniques have no secrets, and they have all been told to Zhu Yougui. Qi is rolling like the snow in spring, and if Zhu Yougui wants to make an analogy at this moment, he feels as if the phenomenon of experience points +1 is constantly emerging in his mind. We're almost in the next world, but we're going to submit a recommendation soon. I'm so busy, so I don't have any saved manuscripts. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Jiuyou Xuantian Divine Skill Plan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Jiuyou Xuantian Divine Skill Plan. Zhu Yuxian calmly meditated and carefully felt the medical and acupuncture and moxibustion knowledge constantly emerging in his mind. It was as if he had done it countless times. It had already become natural. Until a certain moment when he closed his eyes and reopened, Zhu Yougui shook the needle on the dummy's body, and with a thud, he broke through and left, his eyes following the heart's beat. All the remaining Huayang needles in the box also popped up at the same time, as if flying electricity in the night sky and shooting star sword light, quickly hitting the Yin Tang, Sun, Renzhong, Yingxiang, and Qingjiang acupoints of the dummy, and then descending along the Tian 2 acupoint to the Qi Hai acupoint. Zhu Yougui flipped his wrist and pressed heavily on the center of the dantian. With a loud bang, the dummy split apart from the inside out. Zhu Yougui stood up against the wind, effortlessly freeing one hand. With the technique of catching dragons, several silver needles flew into his hand and laughed. The Huayang needle technique is indeed exquisite. Isn't that right? I've learned it now. Xingyun was shocked and lost his color. He purred his throat. It was obvious that he had learned it, and he had also mastered it step by step to achieve great success. Is this a demon? Xingyun confirmed his gaze, at least more powerful than him. Congratulations, Brother Zhu. I didn't expect you to have such a wicked talent. You can do it all at once. Lin Xian is still memorizing the mnemonic even now. Xingyun ignored him and glared angrily at him. Lin Xian, who was grinning, stretched his neck and showed a pleasing expression, rubbing his small hands and saying, "Since you have learned the Huayang needle technique, do you need to tell me who my future daughter-in-law is?" Zhang Zifan heard the news of finishing his work and walked in step by step. He, like Lin Xian, stood with his ears up and curious eyes open, ready to wait for his approval. Zhu Yougui is also curious about revealing the marriage relationship between these two people in advance. Will they still come together? Don't worry, I keep my word. Your future wife's name is Jiuyou. Jiuyou. Be good, why do you hear it so familiar? Li Xingyun muttered to himself, feeling as if he had heard the name before. I thought of it. Senior brother, isn't Jiuyou the female assassin you saved last time with Fire Lingji who avenged her kindness? Lu Linxian clenched his fist and smashed it in the palm of his hand, and his intelligence, like snow, suddenly realized. Brother Zhu, are you not mistaken? How could he be my senior brother's marriage partner? The word fate is indescribable. Zhu Yougui said. Li Xingyun suddenly realized and remembered, saying, it turned out to be that beautiful girl. She is indeed beautiful, so charming. Ding, revealing Li Xingyun's marriage in advance changed the plot and increased his luck by 100. Zhu Yougui's eyes lit up, and his recent use of spoilers did indeed have an impact on the plot, but it only proved to be a small impact with a score of 100. Marriage in the world is like mustard grass, I only hope to get along with you soon. Zhang Zifan stood aside with sarcastic words, sincerely envious and admiring. He secretly stepped forward to Zhu Yougui and formally requested. The kid really envies brotherly. I wonder if Mr. Zhu can also become a beautiful person. Why do you want to change your white hair? How about using the holy Qinkuan skill? Zhu Yougui looked at him with a smile on his face. My heart is blossoming with joy. This spoiler is simply a bottomless business, using some future intelligence to take advantage of the protagonists, and then they have to express their heartfelt gratitude to Zhu Yougui for his guidance. It's really embarrassing to let him waste his luck on them. But Zhu Yougui has a thick skin and a soft stomach. Zhou Shuren once said that he wants everything he gives for free, and he doesn't call anything he can give for free. So how about breaking down a plot into more than a dozen key points and selling it to this group of silly people in more than a dozen times? Think about it and it's very intriguing. No, this martial arts technique is a unique secret of the Tungwen school. I dare not overstep my authority. Zhang Zifan smiled bitterly and shook his head. Even if his current background was questionable, he could not sell his adoptive father's unique martial arts. Can you also stop calling me by Mao? Zhang Zifan said in frustration, is it my fault to look white? Okay, white hair. Zhu Yougui followed suit with advice. Zhang Zifan. Looking at Zhang Zifan, who was greatly affected, Zhu Yougui said seriously after playing enough. What value do you have? Zhang Zifan sighed with melancholy and helplessness, thinking carefully that he didn't have anything good to exchange, so he couldn't know the name of his future partner. Suddenly, he felt so lost and wanted to leave, but Zhu Yougui stopped him. Why don't you try singing your nursery rhyme to me? Zhu Yougui's ambition is once again exposed, we need the 5 Thunder Heavenly Heart technique. / perfect this. Zhang Zifan's eyes were filled with intense suspicion. He was not foolish, but rather very intelligent. He contacted Zhu Yougui, who had previously told him that there was a profound and unpredictable technique hidden in the nursery rhyme he remembered. Zhang Zifan condensed his words. Boss Zhu, do you want to learn the 5 Thunder Heavenly Heart technique? Not bad, I have a dream of learning the highest martial arts in the world and then creating the strongest unique martial arts. Zhu Yougui is frank, although his current state has stabilized in the later stage of the great heavenly position. But it also encountered a bottleneck and the road ahead was uncertain. The remaining cultivators can only grind tofu in water, relying on the continuous accumulation of internal strength and realm. Zhu Yougui himself has great talent, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to create the 9 Yuxian heavenly divine arts with his generals. However, Zhu Yougui's cultivation of the 9 Yuxian heavenly divine arts has limitations, and he can only reach the pinnacle of the great heavenly realm. As for the levels above the great heavenly position, the potential is not enough. Therefore, Zhu Yougui intends to search for the strongest martial arts in the world and create the third volume of the 9 Nether Xuantian divine arts once again. In Zhu Yougui's vision, the third volume he is about to deduce is a realm that can break through to the level of the great heavenly position, so powerful techniques such as the 5 Thunder Heavenly Heart technique and the Heavenly Gang technique are indispensable. It's okay if there's no chance for the Tian Gang technique. In the future, we can plan slowly, such as waiting for Yuan Tian Gang to die. But the 5 Thunder Heavenly Heart technique, the fat that reaches the mouth cannot be let go. Zhang Zifan took a deep breath, feeling uneasy in his heart. If Zhu Yougui could really learn, wouldn't it prove that what he said was true? Is Li Siyuan really his enemy? As if also trying to verify something, Zhang Zifan's handsome face hesitated and struggled, as if trying to spare no effort. If this nursery rhyme really has secrets. I believe that with Zhu Laoda's talent, he can definitely learn it. Refreshing. But after too long, I don't remember very clearly, let me think about it. Zhang Zifan used the fan handle to pestle his head, his beautiful eyebrows slightly furrowed, as if he was trying hard to recall the past. Unfortunately, childhood memories and ballads are not easy to recall. While everyone was struggling and pondering for a moment, Zhu Yougui suddenly spoke out in shock, "It's okay, I know the lyrics, I can help you stimulate and stimulate." Zhang Zifan. Lu Linxian even complained of his slander. Why do you know people's songs when they were young? Zhu Yougui stood with his hands down, tilted upwards at a 45-degree angle, and made an inscrutable expression, saying, "Coincidentally, I only know a bit of the general outline and mnemonic. Listen carefully, Bai Mao. The cold ice falls in Tianling Mountain, the gate of the temple is filled with stars, thunder rolling and rain pouring down, the Yongquan pool is deep and deep, the east room lights up, the west room lights up, at noon, Mao Yu is inseparable, the lyrics are so sad." Lu Linxuan's eyes were sour, and the lyrics were filled with a hint of sadness and nostalgia. It must have been sung by a great mother, right? Does this lyrics really contain unparalleled martial arts? Li Xingyun, who had eaten his fill and was picking his teeth, expressed doubt. Zhu Yougui laughed and asked Li Xingyun to look back. Li Xingyun shrugged nonchalantly and turned around to see that Zhang Zifan had already shed tears. As soon as he heard this word, it touched the ripples in his heart, touching the hearts of the mother and son. He murmured to himself. "Yes, that's the word. I heard it when I was a child and I remember it all." "Then you can sing it for me once," said Zhu Yougui, seeing that it was done. "Today's recommendation can only squeeze out an extra chapter from between my teeth. Please support me a bit. I just hope this time I don't let my hot blood get cold again, _. If the data is good, then during the listing period, I will update it twice a day. The student party can only fight like this." End of this chapter. Chapter 10. 5 Thunder Heavenly Heart Technique arrived. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. 5 Thunder Heavenly Heart Technique arrived. Zhang Zifan immediately hummed to Zhu Yougui once. To be honest, if Zhu Yougui simply read, then the notes that Zhang Zifan hummed are truly ancient and nostalgic, with a gentle and sorrowful tone that can bring one to a state of tranquility, truly filled with a spiritual charm. It cannot be compared to Zhu Yougui's broken gong throat. Ding, Wu Lei Tian Xian Ju is learning. Completion rate is 0%, and it has been detected that the host does not meet the conditions. Does it consume 300 qi to accelerate enlightenment learning? Yes. Zhu Yougui's eyes flickered slightly, and his bloodline was no match for his system. It was indeed feasible. It just seems that the 5 Thunder Heavenly Heart technique is much more advanced than the needle technique, with even higher energy consumption. However, this is normal. Zhang Xianling has already mastered the 5th level of the Great Heavenly Position in the later stage, and the 5 Thunder Heavenly Heart Technique's mysterious and mysterious mysteries are not even below the Heavenly Gang technique. Even slightly stronger in terms of power. Soon, another snowflake disappeared from the air. Then the system in Zhu Yougui's mind began to condense into a badge with a silver lightning emblem, with a silver arc in the middle piercing down, surrounded by faint lightning, emitting a faint aura. The final progress bar reaches 100%, and a small yellow and silver lightning badge solidifies and synthesizes. 5 Thunder Heavenly Heart Technique, Level 1, Level 2, Level 3 Zhu Yougui's enlightenment, like a hanging device, stopped all the way until the 5th floor. Then, in an instant, the water reached the state of great completion in the canal. The crimson pupils in Zhu Yougui's eyes flashed with a faint silver thunderbolt, and an astonishing momentum suddenly emerged. With the surprised expressions of Li Xingyun and others, Zhu Yougui's entire body was shrouded in lightning arcs, and a lightning plasma electric ball flashed across his palm and 5 fingers. The mind techniques of the 5 thunders in the body are operating in a familiar way, as if immersed for many years. Zhu Yougui felt an unparalleled power filling his body. He knew he needed to vent, so he clumsily opened his hand and struck. Shoo! This earth-shattering thunderbolt palm blade rushed out, with its palm strength wrapped in 1,000 thunder and lightning, leaving a blue arc tail that resounded through the inn with an unstoppable lightning dragon. Blue sky and white sun, thunderous thunder. Thunder has the ability to intimidate all things. At close range, Li Xingyun, Zhang and Zhang Zifan were also shocked to see stars in their eyes, and they covered their ears in discomfort with a buzzing sound. The famous smoke dispersed, and the lightning and thunder also disappeared. Then Zhang Zifan, who had unstable feet, looked at Zhu Yougui, who had finished his work and savored his memories in fear, and the strong shock could not be shaken away. Li Xingyun has become numb to the demon talent of Brother Zhu, and it seems that he can master any martial arts in his eyes. How could there be such a demon in the world? Is it cheating? Surprisingly, it's true. Zhang Zifan was immediately struck and said in a daze. His ballad indeed contained a general outline of martial arts, and the truth was revealed. Zifan, don't worry, you will definitely find your new parents. Lu Linchuan's bright eyes couldn't bear it, and his hand quietly comforted Zhang Zifan's shoulder. Thank you, Lin Xian. Zhang Zifan looked at the gentle and pitiful Lu Linxian, his nose sour and his expression slightly relaxed. At the same time, he subtly reached out a salty pig hand and quietly held on to Lu Linchuan's white wrist and soft catkin. His skin was as delicate and smooth as snow, and in an instant, Zhang Zifan felt his heart melt. Hey, thank you, how long will you hold hands with this damn white hair? Li Xingyun's eyelids twitched, and this white hair was clearly ill-intentioned. He pulled out his shoes and wanted to shout at him on the face. The two of them instantly touched and parted ways. Zhang Zifan coughed like a gentleman, and Lu Linxian let out a no sound, like a frightened little rabbit, blushing and burying its head like a quail. Zhu, since you have learned the 5 Thunder Heavenly Heart Technique, can you tell me who my marriage is? Zhang Zifan finally thought of the right thing and earnestly asked Zhu Yougui for advice. For some reason, Lu Linxian beside him suddenly became very concerned about this issue. Zhu Yougui ate a mouthful of dog food on the side. He hates others showing affection the most in his life. My temper has risen, and I suddenly don't want to speak directly. I wanted to play a trick and chuckled softly, saying, when a dog dies, no couple is innocent. Zhang Zifan was stunned. It was different from what was agreed upon. He took a step forward and wanted to know more. But Zhu Yougui lifted his palm with a roar, holding him 3 feet away. I'm in a good mood today, so I'll tell you with great compassion. How can Zhu Yougui say that he also gained 2 secret martial arts books today, and his mood was greatly refreshed? The moon under the sea is the moon in the sky, and the person in front of you is your beloved. Just go ahead and realize this sentence, no matter how much you say, it won't work. After Zhu Yougui put down these words, he returned to his room and closed down. Although he had learned 2 divine arts, he still needed to digest and integrate them well. As for Zhang Zifan, I believe he will soon understand his own meaning with his intelligence and intelligence. Underwater Moon. Beloved. The bright moon on the sea is elusive and elusive, but near the water, towers will catch the moon first. In front of me. In front of me. Zhang Zifan, who remained in place, carefully muttered a few words and quickly glanced at Lu Linxuan's eyes. Master, I understand. With great joy, he bowed in the direction of Zhu Yougui's departure and said. Thank you very much, Mr. Zhu, for your guidance on the maze. Clam, X2 Li Xingyun and Lu Linxian were still at a loss in the end. Okay, you white-haired, don't be a sharp-witter. Tell me quickly what you've learned. Li Xingyun was too lazy to use his brain to think, his elbow pressed against it, and he said casually. It's hard to say. Zhang Zifan secretly glanced at Lu Linxian and shook his head mysteriously. That's right, even I want to beat you up. This time, even Lu Linxian was angry because she also vaguely cared about the name of Zhang Zifan's other half. Just as the two were teasing Zhang Zifan, a man with a mustache walked over holding a box and placed it on the table to watch the others. Lu Linxian asked, Who are you? My master said, Please come to the stone bridge in the north of the city to talk. The visitor looked high and didn't even look at the few people. Zhang Zifan asked, Who is your master? My master. Suddenly, a hidden weapon shot directly into the person's head, killing him instantly, and his body collapsed to the ground. The 3 of them watched everything without any reaction. It seems that the visitor is not kind, Li Xingyun said with a sharp gaze. Zhang Zifan and Lu Linxian both had a slightly solemn expression. When encountering such a situation, it's natural to call someone. No, call the thigh. Lu Linxian, who is still a newcomer to the martial arts world, deeply understands his weakness and habitually relies on his elders like a chick. With a single sentence, I'll go find Brother Zhu, he rushes around to call for someone. Ah, this girl. Li Xingyun shook his head while holding his hand. He was still feeling embarrassed because his own situation had affected Brother Zhu. Someone came to deliver the letter and was killed. Upon hearing the news, Zhu Yougui frowned. He knew that the person was from the Xuanming Sect and that the master he was referring to was Yan Jun. After all, there has been a discrepancy with the original plot. It has been 3 days since then, and Jiang Jiuyou, one of the black and white impermanents in the 5 great Yan Jun, may have arrived. It seems that he has found this place. This is a scheduled battle. Li Xingyun found a letter in this dead person's box, and when he opened it, he saw only one word, war. Senior brother, is it the Xuanming Sect? Lu Linxian held back a wave of anger and said displeasedly. It seems like we've made a trip to the stone bridge in the north of the city, otherwise it's endless, said Li Xingyun. Lu Linxian looked pitifully at Zhu Yougui, his eyes filled with hope and said, Brother Zhu, will you come with us? Zhu Yougui was speechless to the extreme. Did he really want to learn from Kiba's righteousness and exterminate his family? First of all, let's not talk about the 2 street thugs of black and white impermanence. The 5 great Yan kings are loyal to themselves and are the only remaining members of the Xuanming Sect. Both in terms of emotion and reason, Zhu Yougui felt embarrassed to take action against them. It seems like there's been a lot of knocking. Alright, I'll go with you. Seeing that he couldn't do well, Zhu Yougui could only go once. Recommended period, 2 shifts a day, supplementing Tang Dynasty comics, end of this chapter.